Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2024. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about tips, strategies, share success stories, and support each of you. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we have received a grant and we have a dual mandate, and that is what we're going to be covering today. As shown on the screen, the first of the two mandates that we have is to improve financial literacy and increase access to capital. So let's talk about that for a moment. The truth is, most people don't want what you and I do. Unfortunately, that's true. What most small business owners want is just money. They want the least amount of time, effort, expense. They just want money. Money to start their business, money to grow their business, and or money to reach their potential. So can't really argue with that. I mean, that's reasonable from a very basic perspective. But the problem is if that entrepreneur doesn't have a fundable business, which we're going to define, they don't probably have access to it. So we can't just skip it. Think about if you decided you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to lose 50 pounds. Can you just decide, well, I just want to lose 50 pounds and tomorrow I'll be 50 pounds lighter? Well, no, there's going to have to be some plan and some process, whether it be one of the new injectables or better diet, better exercise. There's a process. So first of all, our job is difficult because we offer something that people don't want. They want the outcome, which we're going to get them, but often they just want the outcome. They don't want the process. But since that is unattainable, the next best thing is using a fundable shelf corp to get them fundable and into funding within about a week. So we can accomplish that within about 7 days. We'll talk more about that. Our second mandate is to work with leaders like each of you in your communities to help us go do number one. So that is our dual mandate. Our trainings we do weekday mornings cover both of those. And it's just like two sides of the coin. And there's no secrets. It's fine for everyone to understand how both sides operate. So mandate one. The Fundable Shelf Corporation provides an affordable and effective solution for entrepreneurs who are looking for a turnkey business ready to apply for funding within days. Now, again, you might say, well, why wait a couple days, man? I just want funding. Well, if you don't have a fundable business, we need to either buy or build. Just like a house, if you wanted a new house, a different house, we'll say different house to live in for you and your family, you could go buy one that exists, you close on it, you move in, or you could build one. But there's a lot more moving pieces with building, right? You're going to get land and get a survey. You're going to have to get an architectural draft, a drawing. You're going to need to get all the materials. You're going to arrange all the labor. So you would have a one of one, a custom home. Nothing wrong with a custom home, but that inevitably is going to take longer. Now, a lot of small business owners come to us and they have a broken business, an imperfect business. They have a business, but it's not fundable. And the way that it works, which is kind of unfair, it's kind of unfortunate, you need to have all the elements of fundability. I work with bankers all the time. And you think, well, if I have seven of the eight requirements, I'm good to go, right? Right? No, you have to have eight of the eight. You have to be fundable. So that's what you and I do is we help people have fundable businesses, and the Shelf Corp provides that relatively instantly. Now, when we talk about the Shelf Corp, which we'll describe in this comparison sheet here, all of you should have a copy of this in an editable format, and that'll allow you to put your contact information here at the bottom. This is, I think, a great way to explain what we do, whether it be to yourself or to share with someone else. But there are a few secrets or strategic points of differentiation I want to bring your attention to. The first of which is we guarantee funding. That's unusual. Normally, that's prohibited. We went through an FTC audit. We survived the audit. We went through without any fines or wrongdoings, no penalties. So we run a compliant model. But in general, guarantees for funding draws a lot of scrutiny from regulators because in general, that's too good to be true. But in our case, it's not too good to be true. Well, why is that? Why is ours, frankly, real and a lot of others aren't? Because we understand what it takes to have a fundable business. And it's often summarized as the three C's. And Celino's on the line. Celino could tell you he probably learned this in seventh grade. Most of you learned this in middle school or high school. But it's interesting. Some adults, some entrepreneurs don't even know what the three C's are when it comes to funding. And of course, that's credit, collateral, and capacity. Lenders typically look for all three C's. Now, there are some lenders, some specialized lenders that will work with one or two of the three C's, but in general, it's the three C's. Well, we actually address all three, and that's why we're able to guarantee the results. So that is a differentiation. You could go out and just buy a shelf corp, quite frankly, probably would still be more expensive, but most shelf corps, most solutions don't address all three C's. So they're imperfect in their design. Therefore, they can't make the guarantee that we can make. Next, we know, and so this is the three C's, and the three C's are addressed here in the comparison sheet, which we can go through if you want. But what we know is a lot of people will come to us and they'll have imperfect credit, personal credit. And you might say, well, Tom, wait. I want business funding, or my clients want business funding. They don't want personal loans, and I don't disagree with that. But many lenders will look at the credibility of the business owner as well. So, since that's a reality, and of course, who wouldn't want to have good credit versus bad credit? One of the things that we knew from the time that we designed this and submitted it for the grant is that, because remember, the shelf corp, we do this for free. There is a deposit, but it comes back. We'll get to pricing in a moment. But these are the free things that we're doing for the client, the free things we're doing. So since we know a lot of folks have imperfect credit, we've built that in. We've addressed that. We don't do credit repair, and that was part of the FTC audit. We said, no, we don't do credit repair, and we don't. We work with attorneys and or paralegals who remove derogatory items from a legal perspective. It's not credit repair. And the beautiful outcome of that is it can be done very quickly. That's included. So it's another one of our kind of secrets or strategic points of differentiation. Another is, there are three main uses of funds that people want funding for business funding. One of which would be real estate, another would be equipment, the third would be working capital. There are some other examples, but those are the three main categories. Well, real estate financing is great. I mean, because most of us are going to need a place to office, and we could either pay our mortgage or pay someone else's mortgage. And we have some great lenders that we work with. One of the lenders that we work with real estate financing, they will generate a pre-approval letter typically within 24 hours. And if you're involved or knowledgeable about the real estate industry, you need to move quickly. When a property comes about, you need to be able to get that pre-approval letter in so they'll hold it for you. So real estate financing is a big part, not the only part, but a big part of what we do. And we're talking about commercial or business. Now, it could be to buy single family homes or multifamily homes or office buildings like we're in the process of buying. But the point is it's a business transaction, not consumer mortgages. The next secret or strategic differentiation is we want to show results quickly. And that's kind of what our society expects and demands. So we will transfer the first 100,000 in 24 hours. And we'll talk more about this when we go through the comparison sheet. I don't think you're going to find other organizations that even have a program like ours, that have a grant that makes it for free, let alone that provides these types of results. And then fifth, addressing the third C, which is called capacity or cash flow, our program is designed to provide access to daily bank deposits because, again, there's three C's, which we've covered: credit, cash flow, and capacity, otherwise known as cash flow. All three are important. And so that's what's allowing us to make the guarantee, but also it's what makes this an incredible value. We are providing all three C's. Now, if a client doesn't want all three C's, they don't have to, but it's built into the model. And then the last is a big one. We talked about this quite a bit yesterday on yesterday morning's training. So remember, there's two types of financials. There's historical financials. So we're never going to lie or mislead or alter historical financials. That's inappropriate, fraudulent even. But when we look forward, we can be quite creative. And there's a number of ways that we've been able to project income in such a way that it's allowing clients to get approved for much larger amounts than they would based upon their historical income. So let's pause there. So mandate one is what? It's about improving financial literacy and increasing access to capital. And sometimes people will come to our Zooms and just within the first 11 minutes, they'll say, wow, I learned some things I didn't know. So if that's the case, I'm glad. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, type it into the Q&A. It's like a chat box, a Zoom. So let's go over to the comparison sheet for a moment. So this is, I think, a really good resource. Again, each of you should have a copy of it. Put your contact information at the bottom. And this is really helpful, I believe, for you to have a consultative discussion when you're sitting down with a prospect and helping them make a decision. Because the question starts with, well, are you looking for money to start or grow a business? And if the answer is no, then the conversation doesn't need to continue. If there's no problem that we can solve, then let's not try to solve it. But for most small businesses, they are looking for money to start or grow. It could be someone that doesn't have a business or someone that does. It could be someone inexperienced or an expert. That's not differentiating factors. It's just simply, are you wanting money to start or grow a business? If so, we've got a really good chance of helping them. So the way that the Fundable Shelf Corp comparison works is we show them comparison of the key elements of what we provide and the out-of-pocket cost. And people sometimes go, oh my gosh, I have to pay something? Yeah, we have a grant, but it reimburses. But yes, there is an out-of-pocket cost if you want this value proposition. Most serious business people don't expect everything for free, but you'll run into a lot of broke and desperate people. If it's free, they'll take it. So this is free in the end. It's not free in the beginning because we don't want to just waste time with tire kickers. So certainly there is a cost, but instead of focusing on cost, let's focus on what's included. So we guarantee the funding in writing. So that's unusual. And we talked about how we can do that legally and ethically. We know that lenders are going to want to typically see a business plan and financials. Now, you could stop me and say, well, that's not always true. And that's true. We're in the process of buying a commercial building. We own a commercial building now. It's not real fancy, and people want to rag on us. Oh, your building's not fancy enough. All right, well, fuck, then I'll go spend more money and I'll buy a fancier building so you can't complain about that. Haters will find something to hate on, but regardless, our financing for our building, they didn't frankly ask for a business plan. But in general, especially if there's working capital involved, the lender wants to know, well, tell me about your business, what you do, what you need the money for, and so forth. So we know that that's typically needed, and so we provide that for free, as well as those financials that we talked about. Financials are hugely important. Some people aren't as smart, frankly, as you, or maybe me, and they'll say, oh no, this is a new business. I don't have any financials. That doesn't matter. That is incredibly inaccurate. Financials are incredibly important. And so again, there's two types of financials: historical, what's happened in the past. Maybe there's not been much that's happened in the past. There's where are we right now and where are we going. So I guess there's technically three. There's the past, there's today, current, and then there's future. But the bottom line is that's very important, and we help them with that. For how much? For free. We talked earlier, a lot of people have imperfect credit. Maybe the utilization's high. Maybe they've had trouble making payments on time, whatever the case may be. Not a problem. That is free and included. Some of these elements, not everyone knows, but when it comes to getting a business loan, having a good commercial address is incredibly important. Now, for instance, we're buying that building, right? So we probably will form a brand new entity to buy that new commercial office building. So we applied for funding, and it's interesting, you can do this. We applied for funding with the bank, we've done it, and the entity is to be determined. We don't know yet. So I didn't know if you knew that you could apply for funding with a to be determined entity. But regardless, the commercial address is important in qualifying for business funding, a unique business address. We provide that for how much? Free. And then, of course, we need to have a business entity. Business entities are like LLC, C Corps, S Corps, so forth. So again, those are important, incredibly important, crucial, vital, and included for free. We talked a little bit earlier about the $100,000 transfer that's included for free. Now, some people, again, aren't as sophisticated as you and I, so they'll say, "Oh, wow, you're going to bring over a Brinks truck and unload $100 bills on my front porch tomorrow?" No, that's too good to be true. I mean, think about it. You're only paying $1,000 out of pocket, so that sounds a little bit like a pyramid scam. Hey, pay 1,000 and we'll send you 100,000 cash. That's too good to be true. But that's not what we do, not what we say we do. So what we're going to do is transfer 100,000 of real assets in the form of accounts receivables. Those are real. They go on the balance sheet. So now we have strong financials. Now we have collateral for the loan, all real, ethical, legal. And then we can turn around and liquidate that AR to turn it into cash. There's just an extra step there. The opportunity fund is our methodology of addressing the third C, which is capacity, right? We talked about the three C's: credit, collateral, capacity. Capacity means cash flow. We provide daily deposits for those that want it and need it. And again, there is an out-of-pocket cost. If you're one of our distribution partners, you'll collect well, we have two types of distribution partners. We have affiliates. Affiliates do nothing. You just refer into your landing page. We take care of the rest, and you get paid actually $1,000. But in contrast, our more sophisticated distribution partners are actually doing more of a white label approach, getting clients under the contract with their entity. We provide a contractual template. The distribution partner, is actually collecting this from the client, keeping half, sending us half, and then we implement. All right, so let's go back to our agenda. So I think we've covered mandate one. Does anyone have questions or concerns on what we do from a client value proposition? Okay, looks like there's no questions. If you have any, just type it in. Now let's look at the other side of the equation, which is equally important to us. So we are in the process of rolling out a large physical footprint. So in other words, we're going to have Shelf Corp stores. Our goal, this sounds crazy, but think of H&R Block or think of Edward Jones, different industries. But our goal is to have a physical store in every county of every state. So you're looking at around 3,000 Shelf Corp stores. If you want to own one of those, you're welcome to. And the best thing is I'm not selling you a franchise, not selling you. It's actually free, by the way, as we'll get to, zero cost. The reason that we're doing this, and this is a pivot, in the past we've worked with a lot of smart people, but most of them were dabblers. This was one of many things they were doing, and I don't know if they were always successful with the other items, but it didn't get much attention. And like with anything, dabbling, you typically aren't as engaged and proficient and as literate. So we're going to keep the affiliate role, which is simple. Sign up, it's free, get a landing page, get paid $1,000 for each conversion. Don't need to consult with clients, keep it simple. Then the other end of the continuum is going to be our Shelf Corp stores. So with those, there are a few highlights that we'll cover. And again, just envision like H&R Block if you want. So we'll have local presence in each community where they're active in the community, right? People can see that there's a store, see that there's a office. They can go into the office. We'll have financial literacy trainings in the office. People come in and sign up, it moves it from everybody working in their out of their back bedroom to being a more sophisticated, more visible footprint. Now, I know from the time that I worked at the SBA that makes all the difference in the world. And I'll give you an example. So when I worked for the SBA, the SBA office that I worked for was responsible for 7 counties, seven, SEVEN, 7 counties. We had initially only one office. We'll call it our main office. So that had some visibility. People would come in and they knew about us. But in those other 6 counties, we weren't very visible, right? We would maybe show up here and there. We'd work with people from those other areas, but it just wasn't very visible. And so when I was hired, my boss, Don, who had been there 27 years when I started, I guess he's still there. I don't know. I left, of course. But he said, Tom, yeah, go expand, handle the expansion across the 7 county area. So I started setting up satellite offices and we grew. We became the fastest growing division of the SBA in the country because we just made it more accessible. We became more visible. That's a good analogy. Now, we don't want you to have exclusivity, so there'll be just one shelf store per county, and we'll talk about the process to get a shelf Corp store in a minute. But we're not selling, so I'm not selling you some business opportunity. Don't worry about that. We're just looking for the right partners here. We've had partners, but so many of our partners were dabblers, and it wasted time and energy. So it's a turnkey business model. We can get your shelf Corp store open and ready to make money day one. Can't promise how much money you'll make because it's based upon your implementation, but we have projections. We certainly do anticipate that you would generate at least 6 figures a month. So that's not big money, but certainly we should be at more than $1 million a year. If that's enough to get your attention, we should consider it. I know a lot of you are big hitters, and $1 million a year doesn't even move your gauge. But regardless, it's good income. And that's what the SBA forewarned me. When I applied for the SBA job, I'd been used to making a lot more money. And my boss was almost trying to talk me out of taking the job. It's like, Tom, you call me Thomas. Thomas, this job doesn't pay much. I said, that's fine. I want the experience, I want to contribute. This model is taking essentially what we did at the SBA, moving it into private practice and putting you running the store. And it is a money-making machine. We have expanded support for the Shelf Corp stores. So we have these daily Zooms, but we have other types of training, including in-person training. So the office building that we're buying is about 3,000 square feet, 900 or so, about a third of it is used by actually another financial service firm. So they're a long-term tenant. They've been there over a decade. So we have that lease income coming in, and then the other 2,000, we can either use all of it or use part of it. The reason I mention that is that there's a flex room that would make an incredible world-class training facility. I don't know the measurement, but it's probably about a 30 by 50 room. That's essentially a shell. So our goal is to bring you all in for in-person training at our new office. As a Shelf Corp store, this is considerably different, and I think you'll like it, is that we will be your back office, we'll be your administrative services, but you'll handle all client communication. Now, again, this is built off the SBA model, so let me go back to that analogy. So I work for the SBA in Tyler, Texas. My office was on campus of a college campus, Tyler College, Tyler Junior College, technically. And we had a back office in San Antonio, Texas, that did a lot of the crunching and processing. So I know you don't care a whole lot about how the SBA works, but my point is we're building this off of a very proven model. So you'll be the interface in your community running your store. Clients will only know about you, and we're going to be your back office. And by doing that, that prevents you from being bogged down with doing all the work. It prevents you from needing to know how to do all the work. So I think many of you will like that. Leads are provided, so I don't have to worry about that. $100,000 startup allowance. Now, a couple of you picked a little bit at this because you're right. If you're going to buy you're going to need an office if you're going to run a Shelf Corp store. We'll talk about that here in the timeline in a second. Of course, 100,000 is meant for the working capital. We would need separate funding if you're going to buy an office. If you just want to lease an office, you can do that too. And again, well, we're not trying to sell you a Shelf Corp store. It's not a franchise. It's not a business opportunity. It's a collaboration. So if you're interested in that, and you may or may not be, doesn't really matter to me, but we are going to open 3,000 stores, and you could own one or more of those if you want. Doesn't matter to me. I'd start with one. I wouldn't start with more than one. We have some people come to us, we want 10, or I want the whole state of Mississippi. Well, let's start with one and make sure you're as good as you think you are, which I'm sure you all are. So timeline. First of all, we need to reserve your county because, as I mentioned, exclusivity, we're only going to have one per county. So first, we need to see if your county is available. If so, great, we can set it aside. We need to go find a physical office. We're not going to make an exception to this. So we want a physical office in every county that you're going to run. So in other words, if you want multiple counties. Now, some of you said, could I have multiple offices in one county? Sure, that's up to you, but I would start with one and get it running and profitable and then open the others. Fanique asked, can we do it internationally? Absolutely. There's been some discussion about opening stores outside of the US, and that's fine as well. Outside of the US, we'll just have one partner per country, and then however you want to manage the country. But that's not our primary focus. So we are going to need an office. So you need to figure out where you want your office to be. We'll facilitate the financing, of course. Now, if you're just going to lease it, it's simple. If you're going to buy it, then we'll arrange the financing for that, just like we are for our own office. Then you'll come into our in-person training. Claude, I don't know if Claude's on here. Let's see. Yeah, Claude is. Claude is going to be opening a store, and he's one that said, I want to come to training, want to come to training. Yep, but this is the third step. Third step. First step is to let us know, see if the area is even open. We're starting to fill. We don't have anywhere near 3,000 commitments yet, so I'm not misleading you, but we have some. And so if it's available, we need to go find the office. Need to determine if it's going to be a buy or a lease. If it's a lease, it's real simple. If it's a buy, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's still okay. I'd recommend buy. And then we get you into the training, and then we'll be open for business immediately after. Now, I forget who it was. It might have been Mr. Whitfield, but I forget who it was yesterday said, okay, well, this step here could take a little bit of time. That's correct. Once we have this office space committed for, even though we may not have moved in or it may not be ready yet, we can go ahead and go to implementation. So that's fine. Franz is asking about rehab, and that's right. So even the building that we're buying used to be a home health hospice corporate headquarters. Nice building, nice storefront, big glass windows, very attractive, kind of the opposite of the very modest office we have now. But it still needs paint, it still needs carpet. And so we'll probably remodel the bathrooms. We'll probably remodel the employee kitchen, just so it's all new and sparkly when we move in. So I understand there could be some ramp up time. So we can obviously begin opening with a virtual presence and then move into the office once it's open. But I understand step 2 can take a while, but we need to see that you're committed, because what we have happen a lot is people that talk, but they don't do. So lots of people will say, I want number 1, but if we're not really committed to having a physical office, then you're not the right fit. Maybe you should work for one of our Shelf Core store owners if you don't want to actually have an office, run an office. All right, Joseph asks, does it have to be full-time? So the Shelf Core store does have to be a full-time business, but it doesn't mean you have to work full-time. So if you're not going to work at full-time, which is fine, you're an adult, you make your own decision, then you need to have staff. We want someone in that store, on average 40 hours a week. We want to have a real presence, because that's what makes the difference. When every banker in your community knows who you are and how you help people, well, we'll go to this. With this, then you'll never worry about leads again. And that's what I learned about the SBA. So again, I work for the SBA, 7 counties. The main county, we were so well known, we were inundated with referrals from bankers, people that were declined for funding that came to us. But in those other 6 counties, it was a sprinkle here and there because we didn't have that local presence. We weren't part of them. We were one of those people, not part of the community. So, are you not only a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but are you on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, right? Do you attend the Rotary meetings? You want to go be visible. And that's really the role that you would be in as the store owner. We need someone that is going to be the figurehead, the leader in the community. We can get staff to do the work. And frankly, our team does most of the work for you, but we want leaders. So with that being said, you can reach out to Madison. Here's her phone number. This is the main phone number for our 501c3, 509 Pacific. You can also email her. Our website is 509pacific.org. You might look at this and say, hey, I just want to be an affiliate. I want to be involved. I want to help people. I want to make money, but I don't want all these other responsibilities. That's fine. You can go to 509pacific.org. There's an affiliate page. You can sign up to be an affiliate. It doesn't cost you a penny. And you can get paid $1,000 for referring each person in that enrolls in the Shelf Corp. So the affiliate program is alive and well and fine. But if you want to run a store, we're moving from someone that's making a little side income to this should be at least 100,000 a month. And some people that have never made money or not made much money before, that sounds too good to be true. That has to be a scam. Well, there's lots of businesses that earn 6 figures a month. Maybe you just haven't been part of it, but it's the truth. Go to your local law firms, your local CPA firms, your local business consultants. I mean, normal businesses earn 6 figures a month. So it's erroneous to think that that's too good to be true. All right, so any assistance you need, I recommend reach out to Madison. She's more accessible, or you can email her. If she can't help you, she'll get me involved. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We hope that these morning sessions are helpful. Not really trying to sell you anything, but we want you to know that we have a grant that can help improve financial literacy and provide access to capital through the Fundable Shelf Corp. And also we're looking for leaders in each community to own and operate these stores. And again, we are not selling the stores. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow. Let Madison know if you need anything, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.